Why do anxious and avoidant attachment styles tend to attract each other? While it is one of the most common pairings in couples, it is also one of the most challenging to navigate. In the so-called anxious avoidant trap, two people with these insecure attachment styles get trapped in a difficult relationship because as one wants more closeness, the other one withdraws. Today, I'm sharing why anxious and avoidant attachment styles tend to attract each other and 5 ways to avoid the anxious attachment trap in dating and relationships. So first, why do they attract each other? Well, there is something called the anxious avoidant dance. This is how these relationships tend to play out. When the avoidant partner feels smothered by the anxiously attached partner's desire for more intimacy, the avoidant begins to pull away. This triggers the anxious partner to become more anxious and want more attention and closeness from the avoidant partner, and they tend to be a little clingy. The avoidant partner, who values their freedom and their independence, feels smothered by the anxious person's desire for closeness. So they pull away, and the dance continues. Push, pull, and this is frustrating for both partners. Why do they attract each other? Why doesn't the anxiously attached person find somebody who's securely attached, who will give them the love and connection and intimacy they want without pulling away? And why doesn't the avoidant person find someone who will give them their freedom and space and meet them in a way that works for them? It is familiar. We are all trying to love and be loved, and our early childhood experiences shape our idea of what love looks and feels like. So if you grew up in a family where a parent would pull away or go silent, this avoidant behavior is what you experienced as love. That's normalized for you. And if your parents were avoidant, there's a high chance that you also became avoidant. Or you might date avoidance to unconsciously get the love, the parental affection that you didn't get as a child through a partner. This is what we do without even realizing it. If your parents, on the other hand, were warm and loving sometimes and cold and distant other times, you grew up thinking that hot and cold behavior was love. And that can lead to an anxious attachment style. You might date an avoidant to try and unconsciously receive the affection that you didn't get as a child, just like the avoidant does. When our brains recognize a pattern that's familiar, which comes from the same root as family, we get excited. We think it's love. Plus, the anxiously attached partner was raised to focus on meeting the needs of other people, and the avoidant tends to focus on protecting themselves. And this dynamic can create mind-blowing chemistry. Before you worry that you will never find someone with chemistry as good as your past anxious or avoidant partners, know that chemistry with someone who has a secure attachment can be amazing too. The good news is that almost everyone has the capacity to return to secure attachment and to be attracted to somebody who's securely attached. Let's talk about 5 ways to avoid the anxious avoidant trap. The easiest way to avoid the anxious and avoidant trap is to not date somebody who has an attachment style that's the polar opposite of yours, especially if you're working on healing your attachment trauma. That's pretty intuitive, right? Just don't date somebody who has the opposite attachment style. But some couples do manage to make relationships work when they do have different styles. How do they do that? Number 1, they are typically interested in personal growth, or they already have some amount of secure attachment in their attachment makeup, or both. They are already interested in personal growth and they are partially secure. So that's one way that these couples manage to make it work. Number 2, these couples understand and make allowances for each other's attachment styles. For example, the anxious person can recognize that their avoidant partner has a tendency to withdraw when they feel smothered, and they can learn to give their partner space without taking the whole thing personally. Number 3, they both focus on their own projects, friends, and passions. They have a life that's full, and this gives both partners a chance to settle their attachment system, to soothe their attachment system, and it prevents that pursuer-distancer dynamic from continuing. Number 4, the anxious partner practices self-soothing techniques to calm the underlying fear of abandonment. So they might have a journaling ritual where they journal about whether it's really true that their partner doesn't love them anymore if they haven't texted back in an hour. And they speak up and they self-soothe. They go for walks, whatever their self-soothing practices, they learn how to do it. And number 5, the avoidant partner notices when they begin to withdraw, and they work on their underlying triggers. They also try to understand their partner's fear of abandonment and how their withdrawal reaction contributes to their partner's fear. It takes conscious work, often coaching or therapy, to break these unhealthy patterns that have developed over a lifetime. But by recognizing our attachment style and learning how to self-soothe and identify and advocate for our feelings and needs early on in dating, we create a path for healthy love. We heal our attachment wounds and we create fulfilling and satisfying relationships that don't involve constantly chasing, pulling away, and being pursued. Eventually, our brains get rewired for healthy attraction, and we see the value in dating the amazing, securely attached people.